Alrighty guys, it is time for my mid-month wrap-up. So we are going to talk all of the books that I read in the beginning of this month so far, and let me tell you, I've read 5 books, but it also put me in a massive reading slump. I am just in a phase where I just don't feel like picking anything up. I did have one great read in September so far, but I'm wondering if maybe I had so many good reads in August that everything is just kind of falling flat here in September. But let me tell you, I have some strong opinions on some of these books, but let's just dive right on in. Welcome back for those that are coming back, and for those that are new here, my name is Laura, and we are going to talk about the first book I read in September, which is actually the only book I can wholeheartedly say I enjoyed this month so far. So let's talk about it. We have The Rocky Road to Ruin by Meri Allen. And this is the first book in an ice cream shop cozy mystery series, and I am actually currently reading book 2. That will tell you how much I enjoyed it. The fact that I picked it up during a little slump to try to get me out of it. Anyway, let's talk about this one. We have our amateur sleuth that we follow, and her name is Riley Rhodes. She is coming back to her hometown, and in her coming back, we get to meet her father, who is this owner of this just cozy bookstore. It just gives all the cozy vibes. I wanted to mention it. Is it a big part of this book? Absolutely not. But I loved seeing this bookstore. I loved hearing about it and all of the vibes it gave. Now, as far as Riley's hometown goes, it also is a small town. I love small towns in anything. Just the small town atmosphere in a book is just, it's my thing. I love it. So anyway, getting back, we have Riley coming back to her hometown. The reason she is coming back is because her best friend Caroline's mom passed away. She's coming back for the funeral and to help support Caroline and, you know, just be there for her best friend. Now, while she is home for this funeral, there is a murder that takes place. And we are, you know, following Riley along as she works to solve this murder. I'm not going to tell you who was murdered or, you know, anything like that. I don't like giving that information away. I know it is in the synopsis. I do not read synopsis, especially of cozy mysteries and thrillers, before going into a book, because for me, it's just a little bit too much. And I want to figure things out as we go through the book. So I'm not going to tell you that. Just know that with this one, of course, you're getting that murder mystery. It's a cozy mystery, but you also have a missing person. And then further along in the book, we also have another thing that pops up that I was not expecting. So let me tell you, the twists and turns this takes, I loved it. I love the depth to the murder mystery aspect of it. I love the depth to the characters and just what went along in here. You do see the ice cream shop because Caroline's mom is the one that actually owned the ice cream shop before passing away. And Riley ends up helping Caroline with, you know, taking over and managing this ice cream shop because Caroline has a job of her own she needs to get back to. So that is where, like, the ice cream comes in at. You get to see these decadent ice creams and, like, the making of them and, like, the different flavors and recipes involved. And it's really, it makes you crave ice cream, but it's so good. So anyway, I really did enjoy this. I ended up giving this 4 stars. Another thing I wanted to say too with our amateur sleuth here, Riley, she did work for the CIA as a librarian, and she did go on like a couple different like missions. You have to pick it up. You have to read it. If you love cozy mysteries, I definitely highly recommend picking this one up. Like I said, I did pick up book 2, so book 2 review will be coming at the end of this month, but really highly enjoy this one. Before I forget, there are also cats in this one. There's a sassy cat, and there's like, guys, it's just all the cozy feels. So pick this one up if you haven't already and you really enjoy cozy mysteries. Now we are diving on in to some disappointing reads, and we are going to go through these. The first 3 I'm going to talk about now were actually in a reading vlog. These are new releases, and I will link that reading vlog down below for you guys in case you missed it. But I had a very highly anticipated read, and it just didn't hit. And it is actually the first one on the stack here. So anticipated that I actually reached out to the publisher and asked for a review copy because that's how much I was looking forward to this book. Alright, this one is Lowcountry Lost by T.I. Lowe. If you have been here, you know Lulu's Cafe by T.I. Lowe was a 6-star read for me. It is an all-time favorite. It is one I will never forget. And I ended up reading another book of hers that I enjoyed, but this one just did not hit for me. There are a lot of aspects that kind of fell flat for me. So we have Ava Lee as our main female character here. She is the owner of Lowcountry Lost. Now, this is a book about renovations, and they are renovating a ghost town. Not a house, not a room, a whole ghost town. And I loved the atmosphere of the ghost town. I think that was so well done. T.I. Lowe's writing, there are so many quotable moments usually in T.I. Lowe's writing, and I did find that for the first half of this book, not even half, I would say for the first quarter of this book, I did find really quotable moments, but then they just kind of stopped as I continued on going. But anyway, Ava Lee, she is the owner of Lowcountry Lost. That is where the title comes from. They are renovating this ghost town, and I, like I said, love the vibes, love the atmosphere, but the character development in this one was really, really lacking in my opinion. T.I. Lowe normally gets you connected and intrigued right away, and I feel like she did do that in this book. She did do that. But as you continued on, you kind of lost this feeling of being connected to the characters. You also kind of didn't feel a connection between the characters themselves. There was also a lot of, I want to put this out there for those who like to look up trigger warnings and things, please look them up. The ones I will mention right now, there's trauma, there is grief, there's loss, and that is all in here, and we do talk about heavy topics. So like I said, if you are someone who likes to look up trigger warnings, please do so before jumping into this book. It is a heavy one. It is an emotional read, but I just felt like there was just this lack of connection. And then as we went further along, I felt like the book got slower and then also more unrealistic at the same time. So let's take a step back here actually for a moment. Ava Lee runs this company. Now, Ava Lee works with her best friend Des, and we see her and Des's relationship, and I really liked seeing Des. I really liked his character. I do want to say I wish there was more depth to the relationship as well. Something that really irked me about the relationship was that Des in this book was essentially giving his all to Ava Lee and was open and honest about things, and Ava Lee was like keeping things from him. And it really just felt like Ava Lee was very closed off, which I know she was. I know that was there for a reason. But I didn't like seeing everybody kind of giving what they could to her and her just not giving anything to anybody else. It was kind of a little bit frustrating. I get it though. And then we also see another male character enter this book, and his name was Rowan. Rowan and Ava Lee have a very deep past, and you are kind of given the idea that they are very connected, which they are. They've been through a lot together. Their past is a lot. It's traumatic, and there was a lot that went on there. So you are told this connection, but I don't feel like you feel it throughout the book. You feel it at first when they see each other again. You feel the angst and the unsteadiness and things like that because they are trying to get this relationship to work for work. But the relationship kind of fell flat for me, and it felt very unrealistic, and there were times where it was very cringeworthy, and I hate to say that because I really do generally love T.I. Lowe's books and characters. I also wanted to say that there were things that happened in this book where I normally love the little hints and things that are like sprinkled throughout the book. T.I. Lowe does that so amazingly. But with this one, there were things that were just like tossed in here that came out of left field that were never talked about or fleshed out in the book that I felt like needed fleshing out. So there was that aspect as well where I have questions about things still, and I want to know the answers to them. And yeah, that is how I felt about this one. As you can tell, I was a little disappointed with this read. Is it a bad read? No, but I feel like I was just expecting a bit more from T.I. Lowe. So those are my thoughts, feelings, and opinions on this one. If you want to see more in-depth thoughts, feelings, and opinions as I'm reading the book, go check out that reading vlog. I am sure I mentioned a lot more, but just quick, simple, easy thoughts and opinions on this one since I already did talk to you guys about it quite a bit. So ended up giving this one 2.75 stars. My next read, it kind of went downhill from here. All right, this next one, another Christian fiction release that was in this reading vlog. It was The Christmas Tree Farm by Melody Carlson. In this one, we have Madison, and she is coming home to her family's Christmas tree farm. Now, this book did feel really nostalgic. I love that. I love the holiday vibes. I just love how it included family tradition and things of that nature. But the characters in this one, I'm actually going to read you the back of this one because I feel like it's the perfect synopsis for this one. So it says, when Madison Dell returns from teaching overseas, she has high hopes of picking up where she left off at her family's Christmas tree farm in Oregon. But between damage from a recent wildfire and the neglect due to her sister Addie's unwillingness to invest, the farm is in sad shape. In fact, Addie is intent on selling the property. And to top it off, Madison's former high school flame, the now widowed Gavin Thompson, has plans to break her heart again by turning his neighboring property into a dusty, noisy dirt bike track for his daughter. With odds stacked against her, Madison decides there's only one thing to do: double down on her dreams. It will require a ton of hard work and some help from an unlikely ally to save the farm she so dearly loves. But it may take a Christmas miracle to restore her relationship with her sister. Now with this one, let me tell you, the characters, the character relationships, frustrating. They were very, very frustrating to me. We see Madison come back from overseas. Like I said, she was teaching. We have Addie, who was taking care of the Christmas tree farm since Madison and Addie's dad passed away and their grandmother passed away. Now, I can see why Addie was kind of hesitant with Madison, because while Madison was away teaching, Addie was home taking care of the grandmother and the father before they both passed away. And Madison did say she was going to come back to, help Addie and like with the funerals and everything. And Addie told Madison, no, stay away. This has been your dream. You do your dream. This is what you always envisioned, type of deal. Now, when Madison comes back, Addie holds out against her. And there is that vibe from the start. Not only that, there's a thing going on with the Christmas tree farm where Addie wants to sell, Madison does not, which we also get on the back here. And there's that going on, and Addie's unwillingness to help, and like just her unwillingness in general to take care of the farm and do anything essentially with the farm. As you can see, I'm getting frustrated even talking about it. So we see Madison try to restore the normal traditions that her family had, and in the process, like the back says again, she comes in contact with a high school crush, Gavin, whose family had a business neighboring their family's property, and Gavin's family's property was hit by this wildfire, so there's that going on there. What I do have to say is I wish the romance aspect was brought forward a little more in the story, because I didn't know there was going to be any type of romance aspect in this book when I started. I do not read the synopsis of books, so I don't know. I'm a romance girly. I wish there was more of that romance in the book, and by the time we got it, I was like, this book is ending so quickly. Like, how is this going to wrap up? And I was just very disappointed with the ending. Not only that, with the ending of also Madison and Addie's sisterly feud going on here, how that ended was kind of mind-blowing to me, because not only was it a whole problem throughout this book, it was solved in 2 seconds at the end, which really frustrated me. But anyway, this one I ended up giving 2.5 stars. I would say though that if you want a nostalgic read, if you want something that takes place during the holidays, because this not only has Christmas, it has Thanksgiving as well, you want a short, simple read, this might be one to pick up. It was just not something I enjoyed because the relationships were very it just didn't work for me as far as the relationships went. But a lot of people did enjoy this from looking at the ratings on Goodreads. So if you want to pick it up, go for it. It wasn't one for me. This next one, I've been looking forward to picking up something by this author for a long time now. And everyone says pick up something new by her. So I did. I picked up Before We Were Us by Denise Hunter. Before I get into this, I'm going to say if you want to pick up this book, please do, because the average ratings on Goodreads are very high for this one. And it seems like a lot of people are really loving this. I am not someone who fully enjoys the amnesia trope. I have not found a book yet that I've loved the amnesia trope in. I don't like saying I don't like tropes, but nothing with this trope has worked for me so far. I really do want to find a book that has this trope that I really do enjoy, so I can stop saying I don't like the trope. But anyway, Before We Were Us, we have Lauren and we have Jonah, and this is their story. And What I have to say about this one, because I did DNF this 30% of the way through, I wanted so much more from this. And this is obviously dual timeline. We get them in the past, we get them in the present, but when we do get our main characters in the past, we don't necessarily see too much of them. Like I said, I only got 30% of the way through, but we don't see very much at all, in my opinion. I wanted the story to develop a lot quicker, and for me, it was just going a bit slow, and it was very repetitive, and I get it. The amnesia trope kind of does that often. It gets, for me, it seems like books with this trope get very repetitive. Anyway, the past timeline was not really working for me because I wanted to see more of them. I wanted to see more of how their relationship developed, and while we're seeing that stuff, it's very slow going, and I just didn't enjoy that about it. I also didn't enjoy the fact that, okay, so back up here. I obviously have strong opinions that I want to get out, but I want to tell you a little bit about it first. Lauren and Jonah. Jonah's family has this resort that they own. Lauren is working to get her dream job. Now, in getting her dream job, they tell her, you know, this job is yours. It's going to be opening up, but we want you to get some experience. So we want you to go help this family manage their resort just so you gain some experience. But when, you know, this position opens up, it is yours and you're to come back here and work for us. So she does have her dream job lined up. She just needs to work on Jonah's family's resort until the job position actually opens. So that is what she goes to do, and her and Jonah do not get off to a great start, and we see that, and obviously the relationship develops as they're there working together. Now, Lauren ends up taking this massive fall, which ends up making her lose her memories. And the one thing that I also found very, very frustrating about this book is Lauren doesn't want to recover those memories. She has no curiosity. She doesn't want to know anything about it. She is set, like, her mind is set that she does not like Jonah. And, you know, you would think that, you know, if you had this relationship that was well off and going really well, and even her best friend tells her, you know, like, this relationship was going really well, you seem to really love this relationship that you were in, and she has no interest. And that for me is kind of very unrealistic. I feel like if you're missing months at a time of your memory, you might want to go back and, like, check it out. Like, you have pictures, you have texts, you have conversations. Like, she had no interest in doing that. And between our timelines, it did feel very choppy. So I ended up putting this one down. It was just, Lauren was really frustrating to me as a character, and I just couldn't do it anymore. And I don't know, guys, this just wasn't for me. So I do want to pick up another Denise Hunter book, but this one just wasn't it. So DNF at 30%. Okay, so this last read I have here was sent to me by the author, and I am so incredibly thankful. This is the Champagne Toast by Leah. I read 2 of her books already, gave them both 3 stars. Now this one was very different for me, and it was a little too quirky for my liking, which we will get into in a little bit. I'm going to give you guys some quotes from the book just to give you the general vibe and feeling, and they're completely out of context. It will not spoil anything. I will not, you know, I just want to tell you guys how the book is and kind of give you those quotes so you can make your own judgment. While this didn't work for me, the average ratings on Goodreads are very high, so I want to say that as well. In this one, we have our 2 main characters, Misty and Roland, and we open up with a scene where they are making a champagne toast at their wedding. So that is the prologue. And then we get into our first chapter, and our first chapter goes back in time, and we get to see how the couple met, how their relationship formed, and other things that went on in their relationship as well. As far as the prologue goes, that is where, you know, the title, The Champagne Toast, happens, and a little mystery is going on there. That is the start of the intrigue and makes you really wonder what is going on. So she gets you from the first chapter. I do have to say that as I was going through this book, I was intrigued to see where the mystery aspect of this was going, because there's quite a few different things going on here, and it keeps you intrigued. It keeps you wanting to read. But the quirkiness of this one it just took over for me, and it made it not as interesting, not as I have to say though, like the quirkiness also kind of made me laugh in this cringy, uncomfortable type of way. And like I said, I will go through out of context quotes in here to give you the general idea of why I felt this way, because like I said, I tabbed where I felt this way so I could give you guys examples as I went. But we see Misty and Roland's relationship and how it formed. Their best friends were trying to set them up, and I don't want to go too into detail, but their best friends are also together, which is a really cool aspect of this book. Let's back up, because I know a lot of you are here for clean closed door reads, and a lot of you also read Christian fiction. So first thing I want to say about clean closed door is that yes, this is closed door. As far as clean goes, there are 2 uses of the F word and various uses of mild other language, so I wanted to throw that out there. Another thing that I wanted to throw out there, as far as I know a lot of you read Christian fiction as well and may be uncomfortable with the scene after the prologue. So the first chapter starts off, and the first chapter is called Angels and Demons. This chapter set a very dark scene for the book. So you get this club setting where the main characters have to pick whether they want to go to the hell side of the club or the heaven side of the club. Hell is where they write their sins on the wall. All the drinks are red. They just have a very dark vibe going on over there. And heaven is obviously the complete opposite vibe. So I wanted to put that out there as well. It is very dark. It is very eerie. It made me a little bit uncomfortable. So I thought that was good to mention for, you know, other readers who, you know, have the same thoughts, interests, intrigue as I do. But anyway, let's jump into some of the quotes so I can give you some context as far as the quirkiness goes. I do also want to say that the writing did seem at points to try to stay a little bit current, and it kind of felt a little forceful. So I wanted to mention that as well. Just some like mentions of like songs or just verbiage. I don't know. Anyway, let's jump into these quotes because I keep talking about them and I'm not saying them. Okay, here it is. This was said out loud. Just want to throw that out there. Again, a completely out of text quote, but this was said out loud. So this is the guy with the big pecker and a birthmark that looks like a handlebar mustache on his butt. So while this is closed door, there is mention of genitalia. I have a hard time reading things like that. It's awkward, it's uncomfortable, and it's just not something I would like to read. And especially with it being said out loud, I feel like that's not something that would be said. Anyway, here is the next one. This one. Okay. Our female main character, Misty, texts Roland and says, "Remind me to tell you the story about the kitty essentially next time you're in person with me." So this is Roland. He says, "I'm pretty sure you owe me a story according to your text." And then it goes on to say, this was Misty's response, "Oh, my only story about a kitty is in bed with us. Sorry if there was confusion." Now that's not that big of a deal, but it's still very awkward and very, I don't know, it feels like unrealistic and cringeworthy to me. So that was another one. I have 2 more here for you. Okay, this one says, again, very out of context, "She then hugs my mom so tight, one of her fake boobies might pop." You can see why I get like, it's like a cringeworthy chuckle, and I found myself doing that so often in this book. Last but not least, this one, again, some people might think this is a spoiler, so if you don't want any spoilers whatsoever, you can skip through this one. I am not going to tell you the person that did this. I am not going to tell you any context as to why this was done. But anyway, if you would like to skip this part, please feel free. I will put potential spoiler as a text down here, and then when that goes away, you can know to come back, and it is safe to come back. So let's read this one. It says, "She waited patiently for him to answer. He opened the door aggressively, expecting a heated argument, no doubt. Staring him dead in the eye, she raised her skirt slowly, sultry, sexy, never breaking eye contact. With a devilish smile on her face, she dropped her panties, making sure he could see all of her juicy bits. Then she proceeded to squat and, there's a little curse there, she decided to poop on this man's lawn." That is the quirkiness you get in this book, and when I hit that point, when I hit that exactly, is the point where I thought, let's put this book down because this is absolutely insane. But at that point, I only have 30 pages left to read. Like I said, I did continue on reading, and I have to say it is not one I would recommend, but I thought the twists and turns were great. I thought the thriller aspect of this was really great. Just not one for me, and I always hate to say that, but it's the truth. It is not for me. I'm gonna end up giving this 2 stars, and it's really not one I would recommend. And I did enjoy the thriller aspects. I did not enjoy very much else. I did enjoy also that the romance and the thriller aspects together made a good story, but there were just bits and pieces of this story, as you could tell, that I did not get along with. I did not feel comfortable reading. I thought were kind of cringeworthy. So with that being said, if you do have interest in reading this, please look it up. Like I said, the twists and turns, if you are a thriller reader, were great. Just not a read for me. So that wraps up my reads here in September so far, and you can see why I am a bit disappointed. But we still have the rest of September to go. So here's to picking up some good reads as we continue on going. I am just really hoping to pick up something I absolutely love because I desperately need it at this point. If you are someone who reads clean and closed door books and you have an author that you like who writes romance, it has to be romance, very romance heavy, writes a good romance story with very deep topics, very deep emotional reads, please leave it in the comments down below. I am in desperate need for a romance that is going to hit, that is deep, emotional. You can feel the connection between the characters. They have a deep emotional connection together. Please leave it in the comments down below. I would love to hear your recommendations and give them a go. Those were my reads. I want to know what you read in September so far. What are your thoughts and opinions on them? I want to know everything and anything. Leave it in the comments down below. Thank you guys for sticking with me for this wrap up. I'm sorry it wasn't a better wrap up with more books I can recommend to you guys. But anyway, that is it for this wrap up. Thank you for sticking with me. If you like this video, make sure to give it that thumbs up. And if you want to see more bookish related videos, make sure to hit that subscribe button. I would absolutely love to have you. Again, thank you for being here, and I will see you guys soon.